Southeastern Ukraine has just been annexed by Russia, meaning that this land is now part of Russia. This has redrawn the border between Russia and Ukraine and significantly changed the map of Europe. In 2014, Crimea was illegally annexed from Ukraine into Russia, and later that year, pro-Russian rebels funded by Russia took control over parts of the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. During Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, it helped these rebels take over more of Donetsk and Luhansk. Russia also took over virtually the entirety of the Kherson Oblast and also most of the Zaporizhia Oblast, apart from its capital city. In late September, Russia held referendums in these four oblasts for the residents to vote on whether they want to become part of Russia. These sham referendums were unfair and undemocratic, and they involved armed soldiers going from door to door and forcing people to vote. And rather than letting the residents vote on their own secretively, they had to tell the Russian soldier their votes that he could write it down for them. The referendums are widely considered to be rigged, as Russia claims that around 97% of residents voted in favor of being annexed by Russia. Russia fought hard for months to control this territory, losing thousands of soldiers and lots of equipment. They wouldn't hold a democratic referendum in the territory because if Ukrainians voted no, Russia would have to withdraw, and Putin would see that as a complete waste of time. So a few days later, on the 30th of September 2022, Russia absorbed Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia as provinces, so they are no longer part of Ukraine. Western nations, along with other parts of the world, condemn this annexation as it violates international law. Annexation is illegal and you can't hold referendums in other countries. You hold a referendum in your own country. Most countries will not recognize Russian rule over these oblasts as legitimate, just as they declared the 2014 Crimea referendum as illegal and invalid, another referendum where supposedly 97% of Crimeans voted to join Russia, even though ethnic Russians are only 60% of Crimea's population. Regardless, even though it's unrecognized, this region is now effectively a part of Russia. The Ukrainian flags have been taken down and replaced with Russian flags. The people now have to use Russian as their official language. They have to use the Russian ruble as their currency, and they have been granted Russian citizenship. It is no longer Southeast Ukraine, but it is now Southwest Russia. Russia now claims sovereignty over the entirety of these four oblasts, including the areas that are still controlled by Ukraine. In total, the 6 formerly Ukrainian regions that are now claimed by Russia form a quarter of Ukraine's former territory and a quarter of its population. 63% of the people who live in these newly annexed oblasts are ethnically Ukrainians, and so the majority don't identify as Russians. It would only make sense that this Ukrainian majority would rather be part of the Ukrainian homeland rather than Russia, a country which has invaded, bombed, massacred, and tortured Ukrainian people, even sending almost 2 million of them to concentration camps. Most Ukrainians do not support this annexation. Since parts of these oblasts haven't been fully conquered by the Russians, they will continue trying to take over the oblasts in their entirety. But Russia's referendums weren't held in these areas since they weren't controlled by Russia, and so the people living there weren't able to vote on joining Russia. But Russia will still try to conquer these people, disregarding whether or not they want annexation, and they won't hold more referendums in those areas, so those people don't even have a say. Furthermore, it is uncertain whether Russia will try to annex other oblasts if it gets the chance, but it wouldn't be surprising if they do. Vladimir Putin has also made it clear several times that nuclear warfare is not off the table, that if Russia's sovereignty and territorial integrity is threatened, that it will use nukes to defend its land. The annexation of Ukrainian territory makes this a concern. Ukraine will try to take back this annexed territory. However, Russia now views this as its land, and Putin may frame this as a Ukrainian invasion of Russia, and so some fear that he may use this as an excuse to nuke Ukraine. Additionally, it appears that Russia will conscript people in the annexed territories to serve in the Russian military, meaning that Ukrainians are going to be forced to fight against their own country and even die to support the imperialist goals of their occupier. It's uncertain what direction the war will take next, but what is clear is that millions of Ukrainians are now complete subjects to the dictatorship that is Putin's Russia.